Hi, my name is Emery Barker. I was president of the Tucson Rotary Club in the year 1994 and 1995, starting in July of 94, ending in the end of June of 95.
Emery, what was going on in our club at the time? Were there any issues or things that concerned you as you started up as president of our club?
Well, when I started as president, we were underway on a project that Guard Pierce was trying to spearhead to construct a clinic in Hermosillo, Mexico, to do surgery on Mexican children who had heart defects. And he'd engaged Hugh Thompson from our club, some folks from other areas to engage in this, and we were seeking to get a Rotary 3H grant to go along with the money we'd raised in our club. So that had started, but we had the big push during the year I was president. And that was probably the focus of our entire year, was to try to bring that into fruition with Guard's leadership and Hugh Thompson's sponsorship of the physicians in the club and in the community to assist with that project.
Emery, did you have any particular goals for the club?
My goal was very simple for the club that year. In my opinion, the club had gotten way too serious. Too many people thought Rotary was a religion. I had first been introduced to Rotary in 1953 when I was a junior Rotarian with the Phoenix 100 Club, which used to be a thing that Rotary clubs did to bring high school students in as a junior member. And I was a junior member of the Phoenix 100 Club. And they had a great time at the Phoenix 100 Club. I can remember looking forward every week to going to that club because everybody got a lot of laughs. You kind of got away from your business, you got away from the troubles of the world by going to Rotary. And my goal was to do that with the Rotary Club of Tucson, to bring some humor, to bring some excitement and some fun back into Rotary. Hagar the Horrible was a mythical king, very timorous king of a obviously mythical semi-Scandinavian place. But Hagar's goal was to join and become a Rotarian. And in one of the strips, and in the strip they said, why do you want to become a Rotarian? He said, because these guys get together every Wednesday at noon for lunch to save the world. And I thought that was hilarious, and I thought that's kind of what I thought we ought to do with Rotary. We can do some good things, but let's have a great time while we do it. So that was my goal.
That's pretty awesome. Did you save the world?
We didn't save the world, but we did get, with the assistance of past Rotary International President Dr. Carlos Canseco from Monterrey, Mexico, whom Guard had befriended. We brought him to our club. He spoke. He got on board. He was the father of Polio Plus, Dr. Canseco. And we got him on board behind the 3H arm of Rotary to look at our project. And we were awarded a 3H grant to go with the $50,000 that we raised. The most interesting part of that endeavor, in my judgment, was that there was no way to train Mexican doctors in Mexico how to use this Doppler machine that is critical to the type of heart surgery they were doing. And we talked to every kind of representative, all the folks on the committee, and of course it couldn't be arranged through the State Department. So very simply, Hal Adamson and Tom Kieran and a few others got some airplanes together, flew to Hermosillo, picked these guys up, flew them up here, took them to the university. One of the doctors, Doug Lowell or something, I think his name was, at the University of Heart Surgeon, trained them at the University of Arizona College of Medicine in how to use the machines with their nursing staff. Everybody here was all trained at the University of Arizona and then flown back to Mexico. All legal red tape was avoided. Nobody knew it happened. But by the time we got the grant, got the machine up and operating in Hermosillo, they knew how to use it. It's in use today.
Wow. I mean, when you think back on your year, are there some things that stand out, some most memorable or the funniest or most embarrassing moments during your year?
Well, probably the most memorable thing about my year, it was the 75th anniversary of our club as a member of Rotary International. And we had a committee headed up by the very able past president, Bill Harlow, along with a lot of folks who put a lot of work into it, and through a very fancy gala dinner, and so that we could all celebrate it. But the focus was on the history of our club, and Jim Officer, the late Jim Officer, who was one of probably our original club historian, had lots of programs during our year to remind folks of our roots, where we came from, what Rotary meant over the years in Tucson, talked about some of the original founders, the most notable of which, of course, is Orville McPherson. I was very lucky in that I had met and known Orville McPherson during his lifetime when I was a young man in Tucson going to school. So I was very pleased to have that connection with this club. But we had a very big celebration, and Bill did his usual spectacular job in heading up that committee. Probably the most embarrassing moment was when Jeff Haskell, the leader of the modern jazz group or something like that at the University of Arizona, brought his group and played for us, and then decided we had to have a karaoke sing-along with his group. Hank Feldman, who was a member of our group at the time, and the tuba coach, if you will, in the College of Music. So we had an pa band with Jeff Haskell and the jazz group. But he made us, several of us, including myself, do a karaoke sing-along. And that probably was a very, shall we say, humiliating experience that I suffered through, but all in good fun, and we had a great time.
Your year as president was a lot of fun for all of our members. Was there anything about being president, being up at the podium 50 times a year that surprised you? That you said, oh, I didn't expect that to happen? Was there a surprise?
I think the most surprising thing to me about being president of the Rotary Club of Tucson was the willingness of the members to jump in whenever asked. During the entire time that I was president, if I called a member and asked the member if they would take over this committee or do that job, or there was something that was coming along that we needed some help on, during my entire year, I never had anybody turn me down. Every single person that I called and asked to help, helped. And not only helped, but did 110%. So that was, I think, the biggest surprise to me. I've been president of a lot of clubs and organizations and associations in Tucson, and I've never had that experience. I've always had the experience that you call somebody you really think is good for a job, and they say, you know, I just can't do it. I've got this, I got that, I have a trial, whatever, and they can't do it. But I never had that experience in Rotary. Everybody, to a person, jumped in and helped and did a spectacular job. That was the most rewarding part of my year.
Everybody talks about the Emery Barker whistle. Tell us, what was the whistle thing?
Well, one of our problems that we had under prior administrations was getting everybody's attention. And of course, when I was installed, I used the famous, I can't remember the guy that does the fights, but "Let's get ready to rumble" chant. I then learned that "Let's get ready to rumble" was copyrighted, and I couldn't use it without paying a royalty. So I had to figure some way to get everybody's attention. And of course, the way referees get everybody's attention, because people were milling and talking and always carrying on, and you'd cling the glass till you broke it or ring the bell. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to get a whistle. I'll blow it into the microphone. So I went by one of the sports shop, picked up a referee's whistle and blew it in the microphone. I only had to use it for about 4 months. And after that, I think the otolaryngologists in the community rose up because it was damaging ears. Now, it was good for their business, but not good for our members. So I stopped using it. But that, and I coined the slogan, the greatest Rotary Club in the world, because it was my feeling that we did have the greatest Rotary Club in the world. We'd had some terrific presidents long before I became president, and it made it fun to come to Rotary. And that's why I thought it made it the greatest club. We weren't staid, we weren't too formal. We enjoyed ourselves, we had a good time. So that was, those were the things that I was trying to institute.
What advice could you give a new Rotarian for our club?
If a new Rotarian came to me and said, how can I get involved in Rotary and what can I do? I tell them, get on 1 or 2 committees, get involved in your committee work, don't shirk it, make it a priority. get to learn what Rotary is all about. Find out that Rotary is really an idea. It may be a club, but it's really an idea. It's an idea that business people, professional people, and others in a town can get together. They can have a good time, but they can also do some good along with it. If you do those things and get involved, then people will ask you to move on up and take on different jobs in the club. And my only advice, I've given it to two subsequent presidents behind me, was if you want to become the club president, you'll absolutely be richly rewarded in how you feel about the club and your attitude towards our fellow members, but it'll also cost you a minor fortune in the fact that if you are like I am and you work really by the hour, your hours will go down, but your fun quotient and your enjoyment of life quotient will go up. So if you can withstand the financial hit, please do it. If you can't stand the financial hit, don't do it, because you will be miserable and you won't have a good time. And if you're going to be president of Rotary Club of Tucson, you ought to have a great time.
As you look back over those years, what would you say has stayed the same in Rotary, and what would you say has changed the most in that time span?
Well, of course, what has changed the most in Rotary is that we've admitted women. And we had, it wasn't the easiest transition for Rotary. Of course, it was prompted by the United States Supreme Court that said, if you're going to be one of these organizations, then you're going to be equal to all members of every sex. Gender is not going to be an issue, race, color, creed. Well, none of the others had ever been an issue in Rotary, but always in a men's club. That's the biggest change in Rotary that I've seen over the years. I don't know what's a change for the bad or the good. That's not a debate I've had. It has not harmed the Rotary Club of Tucson. The other change that I've seen is that when I began my year as president, we had 200 and some members. By January of 1996, we were over 300. When I finished, we had about 306 members. Rotary has suffered decimating losses, as has Kiwanis. Every other organization that's a service organization has suffered losses. It's not just service organizations, country clubs, other clubs. Their attendance is down, their membership is down. Ours is coming back, and I think the reason ours is coming back is because of the idea of Rotary. You can have a good time, but you can also do service along with it to your community and help your community. Our car show, our reading seed, those types of things bring a club together. If you have a common goal, a common purpose, something to work on, then I think it makes your club grow. I think it's more cohesive than just having, well, let's give so much money to this outfit and so much money to that outfit. I think the commonality of the goal, the commonality of the work, commonality of the purpose helps build a club, and it appears to be doing that in our club. I would like to mention one thing. I find a young member that we had in the club, and it turned out to be prophetic. During my year, we had a young member join the club from the University of Arizona by the name of Peter Smith. And Peter worked over in the optics department, astronomy, and all that fancy stuff that I absolutely don't understand and know anything about. Peter applied for and got the first grant ever to the University of Arizona, in which he was going to design a camera to be sent to Mars or someplace to take pictures. And so I had a great time with Peter, finding him for sending a Brownie Instamatic to the moon on a space shuttle. Of course, now that we know that Peter was the head of the team that designed the Mars lander on the Phoenix project, I look back on that as just a very funny time. Unfortunately, due to his commitments, Peter had to drop out of our club. But he was a great member, and we had a great time finding him about his camera to the moon.